Good evening and welcome to the Palestine Town Council. We will stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will remain standing for 15 seconds of silence to remind us that we are all here to work together for a just and peaceful society.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call. You want to do that or you want me to do that?
It doesn't matter. I just need them. I forget.
I just like for you to.
Bill Niemeyer.
Here.
Ethan Maple.
Here.
Ryan Hartley.
Here.
Chad Melinda.
Here.
Here. Thank you. First on the agenda are public comments on the items on the agenda only. You have a 3-minute limit per person. Nope. Okay. Next, we'll go to claims. Do I have a motion to approve the accounts payable vouchers for numbers 26169 through 26216?
I so move.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. The motion is moved and there's a second. Is there a discussion? No? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5. The ayes have it by 5. The motion is carried to approve APVs numbers 26169 through 26216. Next is the adoption of minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt the executive session minutes from February 21st, 2024?
I'll make a motion to adopt the executive session minutes from February 21st, 2024 as presented in our prep material.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. The motion is moved and there's a second. Is there a discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it by 5. The motion is carried to approve the adoption of the executive session minutes from February 21st, 2024. Now, do I have a motion to approve the town council meeting from minutes from February 21st, 2024?
I'll make the motion that we adopt the town council minutes from our meeting on February 21st as presented in our backup materials.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there a discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it by 5. The motion is carried to approve the town council minutes for February 21st, 2024. Okay. Old business, BZA commission assignments. I want to appoint Ryan Hartley as a council member and a newcomer, Katie McCarty. And Ron from...
Planning Commission?
Yep,
Yeah, Planning Commission would appoint Eric to that position.
Eric Crop. Okay,
And agree to accept it.
perfect. Thank you. So we are now complete with our BZA.
And Terry, if I can ask, just because I want to make sure that my notes are correct, and more importantly, that the minutes are correct, is Ryan, is that a president appointment or a council appointment?
It's a president appointment.
Perfect. And then Katie, same
Katie's-
thing?
mhm.
Perfect. Again, just so in the past, looking back, there's been a lot of questions, and if it wasn't really clear, so it really helps to know exactly which positions are filled. So thank you very much.
Thank you for pointing that out, because it gets
Yeah,
confusing.
further on that point, of the president appointees, one must be a member of the plan commission, which Ryan fills that need, and then 2 others cannot be members. So we are good there.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is food truck ordinance discussion.
To clarify, before you start on that, I put the current ordinance on as an attachment, as well as the one from before that, so you can see how you got to that point now, and then the one that was up for discussion last year that didn't really go anywhere, but at least so you'd have an idea of the progression of what was written.
Okay, thank you. I would like to table this discussion indefinitely until we have time to convene and clarify all the language, basically rewrite the ordinance. Do I have a
I will
motion?
second, well, did you make that motion?
Yes, I motion that.
I'll second that motion.
Alrighty. The motion is moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
I would just like to speak to, I know that, there's been some conversation around the current ordinance and recognition of some holes and things that, we think we can clean up in terms of a council and how those can function. One of the things that I know that the current ordinance says has a 300-foot limit from any ground level business that sells food or beverage. And it just it seems like there is no place on Main Street that we can allow food trucks right now. And so as we move forward, those are things that we should think about. I know there's other pieces of that ordinance that we want to discuss and think about and process. When you talk about tabling it indefinitely, do you have a timeline in which you would like to bring that back up?
Yes. I know that I'm going to be out of town the rest of the month, and Chad's going to be on vacation, and so just couldn't find a time for us to all get together for a public meeting.
Great.
So I would say early April.
Okay.
Is what my thoughts were.
So we're going to try to do a public meeting for a kind of a food truck specific conversation? Is that the
Yeah,
goal?
Special meeting.
A special meeting to discuss that. Between now and then, do we anticipate or do we know of any events that have food trucks that are going to be coming in? Does the April 8th event have a food truck at all?
I would think so.
It-
That's organized through Main Street.
Yes, that's, but it will be off the Lions Club.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that being a special event, does it get excluded from the ordinance?
Not currently. I mean, there's no exclusions in our current ordinance for food trucks within 300 feet of a brick and mortar ground level that sells food and beverage, and the Lions Club would be within that range of McDonald's.
Well, I actually measured that in the GIS, and the drive going back to the Lions Club, the very front of that lot is 300 feet from McDonald's, but anything beyond that, anything beyond that parking lot, is past 300 feet.
Jim, did you have?
Yeah, so I guess the question to you guys, if somebody does come in, we want to make sure that we don't get into a year's contract with them here in the next few weeks, I'm assuming. So do we hold those off, or?
Me personally, I think that would be appropriate. I mean,
Just say, hey,
the one food truck, do they have a current permit?
yeah.
And when would it expire?
September.
Yeah, September.
in September. I would think, I mean, just my personal thought, if somebody came in for a second one, first of all, I'd look to see if they, doesn't sound like, depending on where exactly they want to go, they wouldn't be allowed under the current ordinance. And, you know, to Ethan's point, in pretty much completely overhauling, coming up with a different ordinance, it probably would be best to say, we're going to hold this until the ordinance is adopted, so we know, you know, what are the rules moving forward. I mean, that's just my thought. If someone happened to come in tomorrow and wanted a 12-month food truck permit.
Can we do that?
Ted, you want to
Well,
explain?
my issue with that is that the ordinance is a shall issue requirement. So if the application is in order, I don't think we have the discretion to deny it.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to deny something based on something that may happen later.
As part of the application process, can Jim request a location on where they're planning on sitting up?
Yes, that's part of the application process.
Okay, so if they
So
give,
if they come in and they want to set up in a neighborhood, that wouldn't, you know, for one day or whatever, that would not include an issue with, you know, other food restaurants or whatever nearby.
If we followed this ordinance to a T, I'd be interested to see if we overlaid that on town limits where actually you could operate a food truck. Because in my quick math, there's, in my mind, only like 2 spots where you really could. One being like Hancock Health, if you did it in their far parking lot.
Yeah.
I think the far end of their parking lot, the very end, maybe 300 from get-go, which serves food. Other than that, the only other place I can think of is the roundabout in front of like Action Collision. But anything outside of those 2 opportunities, I think violates a current ordinance.
Yeah.
When I first took the job, there were some food trucks that were invited by a couple of neighborhoods, and they would set up in the neighborhood to provide, you know, a fun dinner, and there's a couple of neighborhoods that have a section, an area where they can do that. So that, I think, when the first ordinance that was being discussed after I came here about 3.5 years ago now, the whole idea was with that in mind, right? Somebody's having a neighborhood get together and they invited a food truck and they need a permit, and never really anticipating that we would have a food truck that's a semi-permanent fixture in town.
And you brought up a point where when this ordinance was first written, we didn't have, like now all along 52, you know, you're hopping from restaurant to restaurant to restaurant. And so the 300 feet just kind of evolved that made it impossible, I guess I'm trying to say.
but I think that's why we want to revisit it and have that public meeting so we can address issues like that.
So in lieu of changing the ordinance or not being able to kind of halt permits, is it possible for us to encourage not enforcing the 300-foot rule at this point?
One thing I would say, like AutoZone, a new business here in town, if they wanted to have a customer appreciation day, they're within 300 feet. You know, you would think that they could have a hot dog stand out there for customer appreciation, you know, just a one-off, one day. But it really doesn't spell it out.
The way I read the ordinance, as long as it's not a mobile, as long as it's not a vehicle, that's loud.
Yeah.
If it's a vehicle, that's where it falls under the ordinance, but a pop-up hot dog table with a grill
Well, if
makes it allowable.
Yeah, if it's Mr. Charlie Dan's, you know, hot dog,
Right.
you know,
But if it's
rolls up on the wheels.
Yeah.
You know, so it eliminates that, so.
yeah, we can't
Yeah.
have that under our current ordinance, which is
Yeah.
why there's some issues with it, and we
Right.
recognize that we want
Yeah.
to find a healthy balance. I want to find a healthy
Yeah,
balance.
very much.
There's also, I mean, 65.01 B3 says any person or business selling food as part of a town-approved special event or festival is acceptable.
We
So,
can consider that, yeah.
correct, that could be a business selling food as a town-approved special event. I think the thing that we need to make sure we understand is, do organizations or businesses that want to do that understand that they just need to come in and get approval to do that one time? Hey, we're having an event, we're good there. So I don't think that we're gonna shake the boat or shut down New Palestine altogether if we do something like that, unless I'm reading it
I
wrong.
completely agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I would push them in the special event direction under this exception rather than issuing a license.
Correct.
How do you currently treat when Main Street comes to get, when they have Summerfest? And they get
She will come in and generally, I think, the way it's written, she'll get one permit for all the vendors, which there again, I think that's something that could be,
Yeah, that's against the ordinance too.
yeah.
It's tricky. My recommendation is not waiting too long to have the real discussion and make decisions on that.
Well, April, we can have the discussion in April. There's no point in having the discussion until we're all together. But how do we act until then? Do we enforce the current ordinance
I think you have
until
to.
we adjust the ordinance? Or do we not enforce the ordinance?
Well, the
Well,
tricky situation
it's-
we're gonna get into if we don't enforce the current ordinance is if somebody else is in violation of the ordinance. I'm sure we would run into legal issues if we try to enforce that. So if I decided that I wanted to, sell hot dogs out of my truck and I drive up and you guys tell me or somebody tells me I'm in violation, I say, okay, that's fine, he's in violation as well, and then we start to get into a legal dispute.
Right, but you still would have to get a permit. So I guess my question would be, is it worth not enforcing those who are permitted, the 300-foot rule? I mean, if you wanted to sell hot dogs out of your truck, you'd still have to come in and get a permit. So we can issue permits when the paperwork is in order, but is there an exception that we want to make right now in the enforcing of it while we figure out some of these details? Because I don't want to get stuck in an April 8th element where if we enforce with the one truck that happens to be in now, and then April 8th, we're not enforcing the ordinance for something on Depot Street, which would be 300 feet from Mozzie's or maybe even Smoke and Barrel now, then we're going to find ourselves in conflict of those two situations.
Well, the issue is that this ordinance has been violated for quite a while. And not to point any fingers, but the only mobile food vehicle that we have with a permit, he's known about that, he and his attorney. And so I think that's an issue right now, and it sets a precedent for if other food vendors come in to get a food permit or permit to park there.
That's
So-
fine. I'm saying if we want to encourage the enforcement of it, let's encourage the enforcement, but let's recognize that it'll be our ask of Jim to make sure if there's any mobile food truck set up that he's enforcing that same 300-foot rule on any food truck that would come until a new ordinance is put in place.
And so, Ted, I have a question. What effect does it have that the one food truck was issued a permit until September?
So you might get into a situation where they would argue that they relied on the ordinances written and, whether they put forth capital in their food truck to, basically that they took action in reliance on this ordinance, but it was enforced, and got a license, and now if we change it, we're essentially taking the property. But I don't think that's the case here because from what I understand, he's been in violation all along, and it's not like we would grant him a right that he had, and we're taking it away. This is more of a, is that where your question goes?
Well, I guess let's, for a moment, assume that from the second he was issued the permit, he was within the 300-foot perimeter and shouldn't have been issued the permit, but we issued him a permit. Did we waive any violation by giving it to him? Because we gave it to him, and then if we try to enforce it, like you see, he's
I
relied
guess I
on
didn't
it.
see the application. I mean, did he put that location on the application? Is that something that?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because by the virtue of it being mobile, you wouldn't think it would be constrained to one simple location. And so I wasn't aware that that was.
Yeah, and I don't know, and that's, I guess that's part of the very nature of a food truck ordinance. You believe that it's mobile, you believe that it's temporary, and I don't know that anybody, whether it was people drafting or revising the ordinance, or anybody looking at an application or giving a permit, ever considered the possibility that this is going to be a permanent fixture. And, that I think needs to be addressed in our ordinance going forward, because I don't know that that's the spirit of what the ordinance was intended to allow. But then we get into, okay, he has a permit that expires in September. Whatever action we take, it certainly would be proper if come September, there's an ordinance change and he doesn't meet it, he applies for a new one, we just say, no. I mean, the ordinance has been changed. I'm concerned that if we change it and then we say, okay, we're going to enforce it, that wasn't in place when he received the permit.
Well, I don't see anything in here about a location being listed. I mean, there's still the requirement where you can and can't operate, and he got the license with that understanding.
So he still would be able to operate wherever he could legally operate, just not in a fixed location. Okay, and that's all I wanted to think out loud, because, that's a concern.
Now, if it was a case where, it was 300 and now we're saying, no, it's 50, well, that would be a problem, right? Because now he's probably was operating in the assumption that I could be 300 yards away, and now you're taking me right and limiting my business. It's essentially taking my property right that I had. So that is more of a concern to me. In this case, as it exists now, it's less of a concern.
Okay.
So what options do we have without rewriting the ordinance currently?
Well, right now, I mean, if you want to be uniform, you want to treat everyone equally, then you enforce the ordinance as written equally. And there's an exception for special permits already, as you pointed out. And there's nothing that says we can't issue special permits for him or anyone else, that's a town-sponsored event. For example, the Eclipse on April 8th. But if we go into the mode of we're going to selectively enforce this ordinance, then we can't enforce it against anyone.
So under the first 65.01, because that's before the rest of the details, so because you have the applicability and then you have the general regulations, right? So if in the applicability piece, the town approves special events for, let's say, the 8th, we will allow a food truck to operate during that 24-hour period in violation of these, but outside of that, we're good.
Yep, so basically it's, here's who this applies to, then you gotta read the rest of the ordinance, and if you look at, as you said, P3, doesn't apply to this. So nothing after that would apply to these town special events, how I read it.
Got it. So we would still be allowed to allow something for the town event, April 8th, or something that came up in that time frame. Until we can look at this.
What are the requirements for a town-approved event?
We declare it a town-approved event.
Okay, so it's that simple, we just, is that a council, is that Jim? Are we the ones who have to, designate that? I'm just trying to figure out.
Council
I would think the council
council
would have
does
to.
that.
I mean, we could have recommendations, and April 8th is a perfect example. They're saying that there are going to be tens of thousands of people or more, there are gonna be people that are gonna come here with food trucks. And I think the only way you can allow that is with it's a town-approved special event.
So would we approve the day or just the event? Is it being held at the Lions Club? Terry, is that what you said?
That's what I've heard, yes, so far. That's the
Okay.
only place I've heard.
And so that would require Main Street to come to us at our next meeting and say, would you approve this as a special event? And that would mean that any of the food trucks there would not require a license at all. And
I think they get one master. I think that's,
Yes, that's what it's currently.
I mean, is that in our, that's not in our ordinance, whether that's the practice, that's not something that's spelled out in here, is it? Did I miss it?
I didn't see, other than
But if it-
somewhere else in here, it talks about you can't locate within an event without the approval of the party that is sponsoring the event.
Right.
So, just some
Like a
road,
block or two.
which also means that whoever the entity is that is sponsoring the event, they can have their own sub-rules. They could say, you're gonna pay us $100 to set up here.
Right.
And that would go to that, whether it's the Boy Scouts or Main Street or anybody else. And, I don't see anything in the ordinance that says that that can't be done.
So if what Ted was saying applies, and we look at anything after that, it would mean that if it's a town-approved special event, then a license would not be required. And so they can work through the town-approved organizational sponsor,
Yeah.
whatever that is, and we don't have to do anything with it because it's been town-approved, so we've approved them to function at the level they want to function. Okay.
Correct. And I believe it's the Lions Club that's putting on the Eclipse.
Okay, not Main Street.
No.
Okay.
Main Street is helping,
Mm-hmm.
but, yeah. Okay, so,
So we could make a motion to allow the approval. I would say we could do 48 hours on April 8th to allow for that event to happen without problems. We could make that motion today.
I would feel much more comfortable having a motion that is brought by the organization for future reference. So are we gonna get in the practice of preemptively approving events?
I'm
So-
not suggesting that at all. I'm saying we're making decisions today that are going to impact an event before we have the ability to have a deeper conversation around it.
Well, we're gonna meet in 2 weeks before that event.
Not everybody's gonna be here.
yeah.
And it's not,
Jack,
Ethan, if I hear what you're saying, it's not a bad idea to have somebody from the Lions Club come and say, hey, we're requesting a special event from these days or these hours. I know, Chad, you said maybe it's 48 hours.
Something along those
They
lines.
may want 24, they may want 72. I don't know what they want.
Mhm.
I would think it would be received well, as long as they explain what they want, but
Yeah, I don't think
it
it's a
helps
problem.
if they come and say what they want.
I would just
Right.
be hesitant for us to preempt it before the organization would come to us and ask for a town-approved event, that we would approve an event without being requested that. I think that can catch us down the road of why don't we just, from a council perspective, we can approve whatever event we see going on.
This event has already been in front of the council over a year
Is
and
there-
a half ago.
Is there a legal issue with approving it this one time with the current situation?
I don't think so. I was just looking through the ordinance to see if there's any process for designated special event.
There's not.
I didn't see one.
Normally, like you said, an event sponsor would come and ask the council, hey, this is what we want to do. We have a special event for this, which I think is good practice, as opposed to the council
Preemptively.
becoming party planners, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and
I'm not
it's,
suggesting
But
that we
maybe
become-
this could be different because it's such an obvious special event that we may not need,
yeah.
that formality here. But either way, I think.
If we wanted to designate, if we're trying to figure out how to do it, if we wanted to designate April 8th, a town-approved, day, where it is a special day in New Pal, and that would, the whole town type of thing would be an approved event for the type of things that would
make this approval, then we could do that from a town perspective and not make it specific to the Lions Club event that they're trying to organize, but just kind of make it a sweeping April 8th day of, hey, we know that we're gonna have a lot of people. If we have food trucks, we have food trucks, but we're gonna make it a special town-approved day for New Pal.
The only problem I see with that is people parking on streets and
Well,
public right
but
of way
the
and blocking
ordinance
stuff.
says, well, I guess it's an exception, you don't need a permit, so the other requirements wouldn't apply. Because otherwise, if you get a permit, you can't block a sidewalk,
Right.
you can't block a street. But if you declare it a special event, then none of that applies.
Yeah, I feel like it'd be a free-for-all at that point, and I'm a little worried about doing that.
I've seen Bob and his gang busy today. Can't imagine that would be a nightmare at that,
It's gonna be a nightmare the day of, the day before, the weekend before. They're coming.
yeah.
And I don't want to be Barney Five out there, citizens arrests, that guy's in trouble or stopping everybody. I think it's going to be, like Bob says, it's going to be
I think you just gotta know it's coming.
Yeah.
So we know, right now, the town employees are aware of
Yeah.
one event at the Lions Club, correct?
That's all I've heard.
There's no other ones that we are aware of at this time.
Cross the Grace Lutheran, I think, is having something, but it's outside of town. But I don't know if that would bring anything into town. But school, of course, they're supposed to be closed down for the day.
I think they're closing off the parking lot.
I think you're gonna find people sitting everywhere.
People are gonna be there. Yeah.
And you, I
Might as well
think
sit back and
patients-
enjoy it.
I mean, our goal is to try to keep 52 open.
We can't do that, Frosty Boy open.
Well, I mean, even just trying to keep this parking open is gonna be a job. I imagine once it starts occurring and is occurring, it's gonna be gridlock.
Yeah, because once it gets dark, people are gonna stop
Everyone's gonna
wherever
stop.
they are.
I'm gonna be guilty, I'll probably go like this. But
Make sure you're wearing your glasses.
I got them.
Yeah.
I think we just do our best that we can. I mean, I think we know it's coming. And maybe April 8th is gonna be this thing for you guys to try to get something in play, but what do? I think after this is a huge thing, but we need something in play afterwards. So I can get ready.
Is the concern to wait simply, Terry, because you and Chad are out of town for our next meeting? Like the three of us can approve that without you being here and make the Lions Club aware that we would ask that they come in for that purpose.
Oh, no, that's fine with that. No, the only thing, Chad and I were, because we're out, it's just as a group trying to rewrite.
Right. I can
That's
see
the only
putting
thing.
that off, but approving it as a town event, asking them to come, even if you and Chad aren't here, they can come with Bill and Ryan and I here, and we can approve that, should that be a reasonable thing to do, and I can't imagine why it
Absolutely.
wouldn't, to be honest with you. I just would hate to not do things in the right order
I don't think we're in
now.
violation of anything, though.
I'm sorry?
We're not in violation of anything doing that. If that's the easiest thing to do, then that's fine. We can reach out to the Lions Club, whoever's hosting that event, and do that. I don't have to be here for it, right? That's
Right.
part of it.
Well, but when the overall food truck ordinance is decided upon, I just pulled out a calendar looking, April 3rd is the first meeting. So, that would be in place before the 8th, but it isn't waiting too long from today. I'm perfectly fine waiting until April 3rd, but I like the idea of asking the Lions Club to come in, even if it's at the next meeting, to just explain what it is they're asking so that we could consider it.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think that's a good idea. I don't think by April 3rd, we're going to have a new ordinance written, agreed upon.
And in place.
Done everything.
No.
in
Not gonna
place.
happen.
And you
No.
don't have to.
Correct.
And Ted, I was, along those lines, I was going to ask, in rewriting, and I know you would assist us, about how long would that take? I mean, once we gather our thoughts and are in agreement, approximately.
Well, if you can come to an agreement, it's not gonna take very long.
Okay. I didn't know on your end how long that would
Basically
take.
saying it's up to you guys to see how long it's gonna take.
Tell him what to write, he'll write. And we appreciate that. Thank you, Ted.
Based on our discussion tonight? Okay, so. Can we vote?
Motion on the table.
Motion's on the table.
Motion is simply to table this until
Exactly.
down the road.
Yes. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion is carried to approve to table the food truck ordinance discussion.
And in that, are we going to encourage the enforcement of our current ordinance?
Yes.
Where it applies now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you want it on the meeting for April the 3rd, right, on the agenda for April 3rd?
I don't know yet. Well, I guess we don't know yet.
We need to,
Between now and April 3rd, if you check with Terry, because Terry is the keeper of the agenda.
But I gotta create it on paper, so.
Yes, so Terry will let you know.
We'll get back
Sorry,
with you.
Terry.
Yes, no, I'm glad you, yeah.
But
I thought you
our
were
plan
going a
is to
different
have
direction.
a public
Oh, no.
meeting prior to the council meeting discussion about the food truck ordinance, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to set that?
I'd love to.
what do we need to do to set it's a special meeting, correct?
Give out notice,
Just-
what,
yeah.
48
Just-
hours in advance.
Yeah, just an ODL notice.
Just can't be on Wednesday.
When do you all get back?
I'll be back the 28th. Chad, when do you get back?
25th.
25th. So the 28th, 29th.
I'd appreciate it if it wasn't Holy Week.
Oh,
If we could do it after Easter, that would be preferable.
gotcha.
How about April 2nd?
Okay. Time?
Anytime.
5:30?
5:30 works for me.
Fine.
Ethan? Bill? Chad?
I'm good with it.
Okay. 5:30, April 2nd will be a special meeting to discuss the food truck ordinance.
And the nice thing about setting it that far out, we can advertise it, we can put it on our website. That way, we encourage as much public input as possible. And, it'd be great if there were 50 people in the room, if 50 people had an opinion, share them, let's all talk about it and come up with something that works.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of ordinances out there, food truck ordinances everywhere. I would encourage you to look over some, see which ones you
yeah.
like, see which ones you don't. I mean, that's how this whole thing started. I think we looked at like 20. And
Yeah.
Every town's different, so it's hard.
Yeah.
And I think several of us, all of us have looked at different ordinances, and I feel most of them are much more restrictive than what we have, so, yes, that's good. All right, moving on. Now in all this, I lost my, okay.
Good luck following that up.
Yeah, okay.
Come on, Jim.
Town center discussion.
Who's that? Yes. Hey, this has been a progress, slowly for the last about year and a half, so I want to make sure the audience can see this as well. The town center project, it's nothing new in town. We've talked about a town center here, and I'll be able to show you for over 30 years, back in like 1990, the town was actually thinking about the possibility of a town center. So what are we looking for at a town center? We're looking for something that the community can gather to, a place that, we lack that in Palestine. We have a lot of rooftops, we've got some scattered businesses, but we don't have that place that we can actually go to, have a park. We've been fortunate to use the amphitheater on Flex Street, on Depot Street, but we've simply outgrown that. And right now, it just takes the stroke of the pen in the high school to take that away. So we have no summer concert events to be had. So what I want to start out with is this picture up here that represents, and you've seen it, it's Post Road, it's Pendleton Pike, it's anywhere in Lawrence, it's just a kind of a nasty development. And this, Palestine is going to grow, it's not going to stop. A lot of people say, hey, we don't want growth. Well, you can't stop growth, but what we can do is plan to develop. So this is a lack of not planning your growth. So you're going to get this, and this is what we don't want 52 to be represented by. But if you look at New Palestine, this is what we see, this is what everybody moves out here for, and that's great, and that's very charming, and we want to keep that, but we also want to get a community feel a little better than what we have today. Next couple of pictures are on here. This is our Flex Street now we use at Home Depot. I think we picked up a little over 1,000 people at some of our summer concerts. This right here is a school property. That's where we have the venues at, and it's been nice. It's served us well for the last five plus years. If you look at this is actually a picture of that little square, and that was a drawing 30 years ago. So they had that same theme that we would want a little park right there in the middle of town, but the school wouldn't let us build the gazebo and have the walkways and stuff in there. Moving forward, so the property that we're looking at, I think this forks right here. Yeah. The property that we're looking at is kind of up here, the 80 acres has been for sale for the last 3 years. It's right up in there with the little creek to it. That's the 80 acres that we feel like is almost dead center of Old Town and New Town. So it couldn't ask for a better piece of property. And we've had a lot of, it's a zone R2, so we've had a lot of housing subdivisions want to look at that. But there's a lot of issues with that. There's a floodway through it. You've got the county highway ditch. And like I said, because of the floodway, that kind of lends toward the town to kind of convert that into a park. That's the goal here. The little red lines that you see right there, they each represent a 5-minute walk. So if I wanted to walk from here to the wellness center, it'd take me about 35 minutes. That doesn't seem like a large walk, but the issue that we have here in Palestine is we don't have the capability. We have no trails planned, we have no walkways to get down to the highway. So if we felt like we started our town center in the center of this project, we can start working both back toward Old Town and what I consider New Town. Here's the plot itself, and you can see the little red circle. There's kind of a grade there, so that's another thing that we have to deal with. You have to stay about 100 feet away from the grade. We don't want to remove it. We want to kind of embellish it. That's kind of where we want to put the town hall, close to that, and kind of build the park around that. So this is a point of view right here from Lions Club looking west. So on the north side of the street, kind of our view and what we kind of represent there, we kind of want a business with a mixed use with maybe a townhome above it, and it's going to look on the other side of the road into the park. When we see something like that, that would be our business district, and then with the apartments on top, that would look over 52 into the park. That would be hopefully about a 15-acre park there. And I couldn't see where this would be an issue with a lot of the community members. I think this would be a great gathering place, a place that you could walk to, and that's how the old town used to be. We had churches here in town, we had grocery stores. Now it's very difficult just because of travel. This is the other end of that property. This is a 550 looking back toward town or looking east. So if you can kind of envision on the north side of the road, we had the business district, and on this side is the park. So what we want to do is we want to be able to park right there on 52 and then kind of step out of your car and actually walk south into your park. Now, that whole 36 acres won't all be park. There'll be the town hall. We're looking at an amphitheater in there, a park, a dog park, and there'll be a little bit of some housing, spec concept with it. It's another. This is in the city of Greenwood. When we look at a town hall, I've looked at several of them, and I would encourage council to, when they're out on their travels, to take a look at other communities, look at your town hall, because that's something that we're going to have to decide as a group, how big, what it's going to look like. And a blank screen there. Oh, Scott, you put that on there. Thank you. Twisted. This is Daleville. This is a town hall there in Daleville. I haven't seen that personally, but this one we picked up off the internet. I've actually went out to Yorktown and visited this one. It's nice. We kind of liked that at first, but I actually talked to the town manager, and they have a lot of issues with this building. There's a lot of wasted space. All the glass and stuff, it's a huge heat, and it's not very conducive to what I think we need. I enjoy this building. It's a Tucker building up there. I think it's 104th Street, but something maybe similar to that. But like I said, collectively as a group, we're going to have to figure out, with an architect, what we want for our town hall to look like. So on part of this park right here, when you look at this, You got the town hall building right there, this part up here, at 550 and US 52, that's kind of where we would want the amphitheater at. Similar, this one's in Noblesville. This one's in Franklin. Yep, we looked at the one in Franklin. This is probably more than what we would ever need. Greenfield, we might want to do better with the amphitheater itself. This is Franklin here. Playground, when we look at the playground part of it, we kind of wanted to balance it. We wanted to put the playground on this side, down to the east. And we kind of have it on here as aqua center. We don't want a swimming pool, but I think in the future to have splash pads or something like that, it would be nice for the community. Like I said, this whole thing is just to get people out, a place to gather. I know we have the park that we share with the township, but I don't think it's very well served for the populace here, you know, in Sugar Creek Township. This is just some more random pictures here I got. This is another playground. I've met with everybody. I've met with the dog park people. I've met with the playground. I've met with the amphitheater. We've met with the housing representatives of this. You know, we've met with commercial people. So we've got a lot of people in line for this project. And looking at it, you know, we're going to have to work it out. I think, you know, for a municipality and a partnership with a, you know, private, you know, that, I think that's what it's going to be. And I think probably a 75-25. And, you know, we're a lot better off in, I think McCordsville in their town center, I think they had to put up several millions of dollars just to purchase the ground and go into it. We're fortunate we've got developers that are ready to buy in cash on the property. So I think we're sitting pretty good. More playground. Inside the park, you know, a couple tea sheds, more gathering. Pickleball for whatever reason. When we did the stormwater, the wastewater, and they sent out a survey, you know, what people want. This is what they like. I've never played it. I know that it's hard to get into down there at the.
We played. It's fun.
Yeah, and so maybe putting it outside 2 courts. Pickleball again. And I'm a big dog fanatic, so you got to put dog park. You know, I think everybody enjoys their pets. More pets. And then the housing aspect, a big part of this project, you know, is going to be a housing project down here to the south, because eventually we want to tee this off. And as we see the town grow, you know, we can go down 52, but I think we need to get some depth. So we have the capability of growing south, because we've got that new county road coming through here, 2025. Steinmeier?
25.
Yeah, yes. So this will be the housing components of this. And these are just developers. We've looked at Fisher's, we've looked at D.R. Horton, Walt Justice, interested in talking with him. He's got a senior housing project that he just put out. Bill, are you yawning?
I'm still awake, Jim. It wasn't you.
Okay. Some more housing. You know, this is kind of we're looking for an architecture, you know, that we're going to be proud of, and it's going to stand out for it's going to make a difference here in Palestine. This is and when I said 30 years ago, so you know, I kind of messed around with this with ratio, spent about a year on it, and I was actually over at the veterinarian's office or his house, and he had this in his garage, and he had given it to me, and darn it, they didn't do this 30 years ago. And it was rolled up into a plan, and I pulled it out, and you know, it's very similar to what we're looking at today, and I've never seen this. You know, they've got the housing components, they've got the commercial, they got US 52 going through there. It was just amazing. But you know, you look at in the 1990s, we weren't ready for it then. You know, I don't think that we were growing like Fisher's or we were growing like Fortville, Carmel, in those areas. But I think we've kind of came to that point where we're going to have to engage in, you know, creating something for the community. And so I hope this town project is received well. It's appreciated for sure. And so, you know, I like this right here. This is, does anybody know what this is? Yeah, if I told you, you can't answer. But this is the Monon Trail. It's in Carmel, of course. And this right here, this is Mayor Brainerd. And if you can't read the sign, but it says, you know, you've got the people out there that say they don't want the trail, they don't want the trail. And I get that, but we're asking the council here to make a decision, and we're going to have people against it in the community because they just don't want growth. But council with a very good view. My goal is that, they make this choice, and this is what the community gets out of it. And Mayor Brainerd did a great job of, following through with that, so. And if we don't do anything, I can guarantee you, this is what we're gonna get right here. So, anyways, any questions? Where we're at with it?
Yeah, where we
Yeah,
at?
where
How
are
soon
we?
can we start?
We're very close. We did have some issues with the property. There was some dumping that was disclosed during the sale of the property that caused the attorneys to get involved. That's been worked out. So we had to get everybody's signatures back on the paperwork. It was sent, I think it was sent out to the lady in Illinois who can't use computers, she's very old, so she's snail mailing it back. So I think we should have everybody's signed signature on it. They're using USI as an engineer. Once the signatures, and they've got this under contract, I think they're gonna probably start, ASAP, doing their due diligence, soil boring, surveying, and then hopefully we will come back here, with an engineered plan and say, hey, this is how the property works with the floodway. This is what won't work. So we'll have a lot of good questions, a lot of good things coming up. But I would encourage the council to really start looking at like what they envision what a town hall is going to look like, and we'll still kind of continue to look at cost for the amphitheater and some of the parks, stuff like that. So we put this together.
As long as it doesn't look like a bank.
Don't want it to look like a bank. Yeah, 60-year-old bank.
So do you have an estimated time or date that you might be back presenting?
I would hope they have, I think it's 100 to 180 days to do some due diligence. I think they bought maybe a couple more months because of this soils that were in the back, but I'm guessing, I would like to be back here, early summer, hopefully with kind of an engineering plan. And really for this presentation, we were hoping that USI would have gotten a kind of a visual where we kind of fly through the park and, maybe show a little more. But this is what we have. So.
Who's in that grave that we're?
That's Ostermeyer.
Ostermeyer. Who's he?
Yeah. Ostermeyer, he was related to the Scottons, I think, but actually, in 30 years ago when I looked at it, they actually called it, and I discussed it with the homeowners, but it kind of makes them happy, but I think they consider this to be called Scotton Square. Scottons was a real prevalent name here in the community. They owned the farm, so.
Jim, the position of the amphitheater, have you talked to anybody that lives over there in 550?
Dean Marshall should be all over it. She's excited.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got several homeowners over there. And if you look at that, you think, well, the amphitheater right there on 52, but if you go in the city of Franklin, their amphitheater's right downtown, and actually our Flex Street, I don't think we've ever had issues with our summer concerts with people upset. We intend to build that up with a berm off of 52, set the stage so it's kind of going maybe, I don't know.
Well, you want the audio to go.
Southeast.
We gotta get sunlight for the band members, we got all this stuff.
Southeast, probably.
So we'll have that beautiful sunset we get at football games in the background as well.
Yeah, that's
We'll be
something,
behind you.
hopefully, that tree line on those houses and stuff will kind of be a little better than some of
We'll be
those football
staring.
games. Yeah,
And is this property in the TIF?
all this property's in the TIF district. Yeah.
So that'd be good for the town as
Both
well.
sides, sets very well for the town. And honestly, actually, both developers, I think they'll be here as well with the engineers when we present this next time.
That's already a TIF district?
No, it's not.
This
don't
is,
It's not activated, but
it's not active.
everything
It's not
along Main Street's a TIF district.
Yeah.
It's in the, okay.
It's in that drawn out TIF, that 200 and
It's
something.
where you can spend the money, but it's not where your money is gonna be.
Correct, and
Yeah.
until it's activated from the
Yes.
Wellness Center to CVS,
Yeah.
that entire stretch of 52 is currently an inactive TIF district.
It will be activated.
Well, I know this is a lot of work. Thank you very much for putting it
No
together.
problem. You know what? I appreciate it. It's been a very fun project.
It's exciting that your idea, after you got it on paper, was very similar to what somebody thought of,
Yeah.
In the
30 years
same
ago.
property.
So, yeah, that's pretty
The
cool.
same property, that's
Moving
amazing.
away.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited about it. I look forward to them getting movement on this and working towards that. I think anybody I've talked to about this after I heard you talk about it, anybody that I've talked to in town limits, right outside town limits, is extremely excited about this. I think a lot of the people that live in New Pal go to neighboring communities for parks and splash pads and amphitheaters, and I think this plan right here does a great job of controlling that growth and bringing that here.
Very much. And I think, like you mentioned, the frequently asked questions, you know, maybe that's something that we start that with this project, because now it's kind of out of the bag, and it has been out of the bag a little bit, but now you guys are gonna get approached with it. So when those questions do come in, and there's something I can answer or do my due diligence, so be it.
I love it. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, maybe
Yes.
it's something that, for the amphitheater, we could provide some food truck parking out there, so
Yeah, well,
while we have the concert series going on there.
As long as the town approves it.
Well,
let's see.
Thank you, Jim. This is
Don't get
wonderful.
ahead of the ordinance, Susan. Don't get ahead of us.
The food truck, that's all thought out, but, you know, we looked at this, we went closer to the park, it's actually a square where they can actually park and people gather at.
Yeah.
We thought we'll flip it, kind of put it up here closer to the park.
There you go.
Yeah.
See?
Hey, we're working.
Food truck row. I like it.
Food barrel.
Thank you so much, Jim.
thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
It's exciting for our town. Okay, next on the agenda is the Voice Systems Keystone Software renewal. Do I hear a motion to approve the invoice number 106414?
Can we talk about it first?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk.
Okay.
Could be a
Well, how,
There's a reason, you know, beyond the fact that I can't just approve, you know, a $7,000 invoice. There's something that we've had.
hey, Yvonne,
Yeah.
can I interrupt you just for a moment?
Absolutely.
Just so that we're following Robert's Rules of
Right.
Order. I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the invoice, because then once it's moved and seconded, then it's open for discussion. So just procedurally, that's a motion that I make.
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion is moved and seconded. Is there a discussion?
Yes, there is.
Thank
Go,
Because
Yvonne.
If you look on, you've all got a copy of that
Mhm.
bill. This is for the Key Fund Program, which is our accounting program, which we need to have and continue. It's not necessarily my favorite program ever, but it is what we need to use for accounting, and I want to be consistent on keep that. It's also, I've been promised that it's being improved in the next couple of years, so we can't wait for that. So that's the middle part in there, that's $3,300. Then there's key billing, that's for the utility billing, also very important. That's being upgraded now, and later this year, they're rolling us out into a new version of that, which I'm excited about, but Nyla's not. She'd like to keep things the same as they've always been. But the top portion, the top item on there is a data access to the payroll program. The payroll program we're no longer using. We have payroll being done by a third-party payroll company, which is working out very nicely. But when that change was made, which is 3.5 years ago, right before I started, I felt very strongly we need to have access to the payroll information during the time that we were A, waiting for an audit, and B, I might still need to have that information for employment verifications, questions from employees, anything like that. Well, that time kind of has passed. We've been audited. We've got all the information now. If I have to do an employment verification, all I need is the total amount. Somebody has been paid in that time frame. So I no longer need the access to all the details in the program itself. So I would like to propose to you that we do not continue that software maintenance portion for the data access to the payroll program. I've already spoken to Keystone, to the company that runs it, asked them what I need to do to get that removed. She says, just call me, let me know. She says, it's all good. So they already have a heads up that I was gonna suggest to you guys that we do not approve
Thanks.
that portion.
9.
And I would like to make an amendment to your proposal,
If
or your
you
motion.
didn't, I would have.
That we remove that line item of 700 and whatever, from that invoice and then go from there.
I second the amended motion.
Okay.
The MT data access.
The motion is moved and seconded. And we've had the discussion.
Approve the amendment and then approve the motion?
Approve
Technically, yeah.
the amendment.
Unless the person making the motion wants to just consent to the amendment, then you can just vote once.
Ah,
I withdraw the original motion
There you go.
completely.
Oh, okay.
Because Ethan's motion was much better than my motion.
All righty. So, all in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it by 5. The motion is carried to approve the invoice 106414.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And all the discussions. Thank you.
Minus the 770.
Totaling 650, 6575.
Legal updates? Did you know you were on the agenda?
I did not.
I kind of saw that look on your face.
I don't
You were
have
supposed
any
to have all the food
updates,
truck answers.
But it's nice to meet you all. I'm glad to be engaged again.
Oh, good.
Welcome.
We're glad you're here. Okay. Department reports. Jim, do you have anything else? That was a nice presentation.
Back behind us, we have some things from Commonwealth. There's some illustrations on what the new sewer plant will look like. Next week, I talked to Thomas Barkley. I should have a full set of plans. He's gonna give us about a week, Kyle and I, to look at it and kind of go through it. And I think on the 26th, Kyle and I will go to Commonwealth and just go page by page with Al. That's before this gets out to bid, so we can look at what we're actually quoting on it.
When you have that date defined, can you let us know
Yep,
if,
you bet.
if we can join you in that?
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, they were supposed to do some research on the solar
Yep.
stuff and get back to us. I haven't heard anything on that, so.
One other thing I have is Tammy Fry, she has a parcel of property just down here on Benton Road. I think it's 88 acres. She's gonna ask to annex into town. So right now she's got I think it's Phil Goins working on the development plan. She wants to build 3 houses on that piece of property. I would consider council, I think that's a good recommendation to annex that property in, because they're gonna have 3 houses on it. They're probably gonna be a very high value on the houses. We're gonna service it through the police department. They're gonna be on our roads.
3 sewer hookups.
There's 3 sewer hookups.
Mhm.
We'll collect the taxes on it, so
That's on 450?
450. It's right next to Jeff Fry's, or just south of Jeff Fry's. They want to-
Is that process, they come to us?
They actually, well, right now the developer's working on the plans through the county.
Okay.
Because there's 3 homes, it's considered a major subdivision.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
And until we annex it, the county controls it.
Right.
County control. But right now, it's just really 3 homes, 3 driveways, all onto. And so I don't think it's gonna be, it's not like a subdivision or anything like that we see
Right.
with Willow Ridge. But they will have to go from the county zoning to the town zoning. So we will have to go through the planning and get everything approved on it, so.
Well, does that ultimately come, and this is just my ignorance, does it go through the plan commission and then does it come to us?
They'll make the recommendation and it'll go to you.
Okay,
Give favorable or non-favorable?
Yeah.
right, okay.
So anyway, just, I'm saying it because it's kind of down the road.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the heads up.
That's it.
Steve?
Well, I am going to circle back around to ordinances. And I think at some point in the town, we need to get a more definitive, I don't think we have one at all right now, on sidewalk ordinance. We get several phone calls a year from property owners wanting to know whose responsibility this city wall is in front of their property. And I've asked 20 different people, and have gotten 20 different responses. It's a real crazy one that has a lip in it or a crack or whatever is settling, whether that falls on the town to repair or the abutting property owner.
Combination.
Who gets sued if somebody trips?
Well, I guess it's a,
Not so much, it's just a matter of who takes on the expense of going out and replacing that sidewalk. And also, we probably need to set some parameters on, like, what is a hazardous section of sidewalk? Is it a quarter-inch lip, half-inch, inch lip, something that's settled, so.
Can you give us some recommendations on
Yeah,
what
do you
you
have any-
think?
I could certainly make recommendations,
The problem is, we all know somebody can trip over 1 inch.
Right.
That's the-
or a quarter-inch.
But I don't- if we have an ordinance that the town's responsible for, I don't want every crack with our team and money going out fixing every little thing. So,
At this stage, I say it's the abutting, when people call, I say it is the
Yeah.
abutting property, but when I go and look at our ordinances, there is nothing that states that specifically, so I think we need to get something in the ordinances.
are there HOAs that are responsible for certain sidewalks?
I would look at that as well, because the town doesn't put the sidewalks in. Each developer or each builder puts their own walks in, so.
But I've also gone through the CCRs and different subdivisions and have found really no
Right.
specific clarification on who's responsible for it.
so I know this by looking at the covenants, as far as the subdivisions go. The recent subdivisions, I say recent, maybe last 10 or 15 years, a lot of those will state in their covenants on whether the sidewalk is maintained by the homeowner or the town. A lot of them, the first year, the town's responsible for them, and then it turns over, the homeowner's responsible for them. My question would be, if there's any sidewalks in town, if they're in public right of way, I feel like we might be in a little bit of an issue there, trying to make the homeowner take care of the sidewalk in a public right of way, depending on what the right of way is. Now, subdivisions are a little different
Yep.
if it's called out. If it's not called out, I think we'd have to approach that.
Yeah, and a lot of these right-of-ways are or easements are for utilities, so
Correct.
that we have that area that a utility company, say there was an issue with water or fiber optic or whatever, and they have access to that they can get in and make the repairs.
A right of way and
We
an
don't know in the
easement,
winter.
a right of way and an easement are separate though.
Yeah.
Separate
But,
things.
but we don't, like a subdivision initially will have a performance bond for a year and then a
Yep.
maintenance bond to follow up for 3 years, where they'll take care of that stuff. But the town has never gone out, obviously, and shoveled, sidewalks in front of people's homes or anything. We leave that to the homeowner.
Yep.
So, I just think we need clarification on that through an ordinance.
We could do some research to see what some other towns are doing as well. I think that will kind of help us frame that discussion, so it's a good call.
We're good at that, researching other ordinances at this point.
Ted, do you have any legal to add to that?
No, Steve called me yesterday afternoon. I told him I would not have an answer by tonight on this. But I think your inclination is correct. If it's the right of way, it's not the homeowner's property, and I don't know that we can necessarily push it back on them. And then you get into the issue of like 52. That's a state highway, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So now the state's involved, and what section of sidewalk is theirs versus ours? Were there any dedications? It's complicated.
It's almost a per parcel.
I think it really is, yeah. But I think you're absolutely right. With new developments, you take care of it in advance. And unfortunately, we're dealing with the ones that weren't taken care of, that were done many, many, many years ago without any commitments, without any bonds.
Can we control those with ordinances? Is that something you need to look into?
Yeah, something I need to look into. I'm hesitant to say that we can abstain responsibility for property that's in the right of way of city-owned streets. I don't know how we would put that back on a homeowner.
I think within a subdivision you could,
Absolutely.
And that's part of the initial approval of the subdivision.
Yep.
Right.
That it's clarified at that point. But for instance, where I live on 52, you know, if you're anywhere near a corner, they just came through and put all new ADA compliant ramps and replaced the ones that they just put in, I don't know, 2 years ago. I don't know if they're gonna replace the ramps every 2 years, but, you know, I sure as in the world don't wanna have to replace that.
No, and 52 is all NDOT.
It's all state.
Sidewalks.
Yeah, so at least there you don't have to.
Yeah, it's all state. It's just, it'd be
I
a
like
big financial commitment in town.
Yeah, if the town tried to take on all the city walks and subdivisions as far as replacing and,
But you'd only do so many a year, you know.
what's that?
You could only do so many a year. It's so much work in a year, you know, the town can't go through and replace everything.
What I'm wondering, because we have a GIS system now, is, you know, and we can go out and actually take pictures of the ones that might have depths that we might have issues with. Put it on the GIS with the address and kind of put a bill to it.
Yeah.
Create an asset management plan and say, hey, you know, we've got $18,000 worth of sidewalks, you know, how you want to do it? You want to do 4,000, or we have, that way we can hire it out. We're gonna get it done cheaper, you know. And the town years ago, they actually did a 50-50 split. They got with the town, they sent it out, and I think it was Ron Gray that actually poured the sidewalks, and I think the town paid for the concrete. So they kind of put that out there. People, they went for it.
When you used to have bad concrete or, you know,
Yeah.
lifted from tree roots and everything, they would go back and fix it, then 50% was homeowner, 50% was town. We used to have money in the CCD fund that would come back out and kind of help with that. Or if it's something where the town had to go back in, like you said, to somebody's house and had to tear up concrete, we replaced it. But that was for the old CCD fund. I think that's still in the ordinance.
And I think if we have it in an asset management plan, then that kind of protects us from litigation, doesn't it? If it's a, you know, programmed, I believe it might.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Sir.
Maybe.
But I can say in the 20-plus years I've been here, we've never moved snow.
Do you need my address?
And some of these repairs that I tie in with community crossings, I can go through and mark the really worst sections of sidewalks. As long as I'm doing an 1.5-inch mill and repave, I can update 88 curb ramps and some bad sections of sidewalk, and I try to do that every year as well in the subdivision. So
Isn't that the fun part of the application?
it's all fun. You know.
All right. So you can get us some suggestions and thoughts. Ted will give us some guidance as well.
Sure.
That's excellent.
Is that all?
That's all I have.
Thank you, Steve. Bob?
Other than we're really busy.
I
Yeah, it's been.
literally saw you
We're
today.
short another lamppost today. Sorry.
Oh. Yvonne?
I don't have anything specific. Thank you.
Okay. Now it's time for public comments, 5 minutes on any topic.
Eric Crop, 125 East Main Street. I actually have 3 things. Hopefully they'll be like really small. That is a cool plan, by the way. I just hope that like if all that becomes, and if we have to start it now, if you look at a lot of those towns that have done that, their speed limit has decreased dramatically through those areas, just for the fact that it is so tight. You do have a lot of pedestrians. And I think Franklin is 20, and I think there's another community that may be 20 mile an hour, maybe it's Southport, which Southport is old, but I've got many tickets there because it goes from 35 to 40. Anyway, so we don't have to talk about that. But, so just thinking out loud, if that's going to continue, let's get on board with trying to slow the traffic down ahead of time before we get it built, and then all of a sudden we're going.
We won't. If you look at this, one reason why we want to put the buildings up, this will require that traffic slows down, because we want this to be walkable.
You could put 10 mile an hour and you're still gonna do 50.
Well, they won't do here.
I live right
It would
there.
be like going through Greenfield.
Sure.
You know, this is gonna be very, at your area, you know, you live far enough out this way that they're still coming in from but this will really kind of generate from this Bittner all the way to
Sure.
almost 600, so, or
Okay.
at least 550.
that's that. I was just making sure about the
Good
speed.
point.
Second thing is, I live at 125. These nice people have bought the building we've always fought against at 121 East Main Street, which is the old Adams place, which is tied to the pub. But now we have new pub owners. That is gone really well as well. But they have a new business in town that they are trying to, they're getting all their ducks in a row, which is awesome, unlike the other people. But they are trying to create a business where they have a meeting place as well, because really our only meeting place is, you know, Lions Club, thank you. And that's pretty expensive for what it is, and a lot of people don't need 5,000 square feet. They just need, you know, maybe 1,500 square feet, 2,000 square feet to, you know. We have been asked, you know, who owns the building. You know, they're trying to already schedule events, but the good thing is they are following rules and they are not scheduling events, which is a blessing. But they are, this is Matt and Brittany, by the way, they are the owners. And they're super cool. We've had a lot of talks, and they are willing to put together a plan and go through the right channels of getting something set up in front of the town to proceed before they actually hold events there or whatever the case may be. They're talking small gatherings, little parties for little kids, not bands and not all the craziness that the previous people wanted. So we just want to be good neighbors to them as well, and know that they have our support for this and not, you know, go against it. But they did find out when they did purchase the property, they do have quite a few more parking spaces that came with the building that no one knew about. So it kind of took away from the pub, and it's part of their ownership. But you guys will see all that sooner or later. But that's all I have.
Jim, can I ask, what is that property currently zoned?
Right now it's B2, so what they're gonna ask for is a special exception, and I think we called it hall, or what was it? So
Right now, it's only for storage.
it's, yeah,
Correct,
it's
yeah.
storage. So, like I said, they are gonna go through the BZA. You know, I've asked them to reach out to the neighbors, do their due diligence, come in, and, you know, they have to meet all those points, and it's, now we have a BZA. We'll set it up for a BZA meeting.
So have they already asked you, or can you let them know which application they need to?
No, right, I wanted them to reach out to the neighbors first, you know, to get the feel of your neighbors, because for the town, you know, we've had birthday parties, we've had graduation parties there for years. I went to probably 4 or 5 graduation parties there. Nobody ever had a problem with it until Adams bought it and they amplified the place. So, you know, now I think it's going to go back. This is totally up to the BZA, but, you know, I would encourage them to, you know, work with their neighbors, because that's what drives our issues, the neighbors complaining. And it's like I said, you know, actually, you know, the BZA could prove it, and they can also put commitments on it. They can put timeframes on it, no music, no alcohol, they can do a lot, so.
Well, and I think just the fact that they've already gone to the neighbors shows a completely different approach than what was there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll just say for the record that if Mr. Kropp is in favor of it, he was the person who had the biggest problems. You know. And I will say that, Eric, you are a better man than I ever will be, because if somebody at midnight was looking in my daughter's bedroom window or urinating on my wife's flowers, I would still be in jail. So, you know, I don't know how you exercise self-restraint, but you did. But just the fact that you had those problems, and those were all, you know,
We fought them well.
it was addressed in a public forum and addressed by, you know, the appropriate entities within the town. But just the fact that you're the closest neighbor, the most impacted, and you folks have already talked to him, and, you know, we'll get a lot more information.
Sure.
But if the person who is closest to it is in favor of it, as opposed to being against it, that speaks volumes. So, you know, coordinate with Jim and get whatever applications you need, and we'll just go through, and you've already started, you know, talk to the neighbors is fantastic.
Like I say, we started to go around to all the neighbors, get signatures support. They've signed across the street. Ben, to us, everyone has been very.
Everybody that touches it
Yeah.
is for it, per se, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything that they're speaking is, I mean, again, they do little kids parties, and they have like the little bounce houses, and they have, and all that stuff's gonna be indoor. They're not gonna roll the doors up. We've already had those discussions. I mean, it's gonna be a very, very small, tight-knit thing, and I think the town is gonna need it. I think the little moms and the little kids literally have nowhere to go. Again, they're going to other communities for these little events or trying to find something to do, and these guys are gonna be the ones that are gonna.
And I'm not looking for you to commit to anything, but are you going to be requesting an alcohol permit?
No, so that is one of the big things that we are not gonna do live music, or we're not gonna allow live music, we're not gonna, allow alcohol at the venue, and we are okay with having like time frames that we have to cut off, so like 7, 8 p.m., if that's what the neighbors are in favor of. We have 2 small kids and 1 on the way, so we are not, trying to be out all night, and we don't wanna have to deal with that, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well,
So we
and I
have
think
cut off.
in the big picture, I can't speak for anybody, but me personally, I think your business will be well received because it isn't what was there that was offensive. It was when folks were serving alcohol and having concerts, but let me say this, every once in a while, the pub will come and say, we need a special event for whatever the occasion, and they're gonna have a band in the parking lot. And we, as long as there are hours and some restrictions, and, if you have the need that you ever need a special event or what have you, we work with people as much as we can.
We may need a food truck.
You might.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Here we go.
Thank you. Just bad turn.
Well.
No, but we will definitely, I mean, we've been running the business for 2 years as a mobile business, so where we go to venues or people's houses and we drop off the equipment, set up parties and events and stuff like that. But when we bought the building, we got a lot of interest of wanting to rent the building because there's not a whole lot of options around here, or if you're trying to go to Greenfield, it's always so booked out because, there's not a lot of places like that. So we got a lot of interest, and we were like, let's do it. Like, we want to be a part of the community. We definitely want to be a part of like the big like Summerfest and like the events that happened like this winter, whenever you guys have like the Winter Fest or whatever. Like, we would love to be able to set up our bounce houses inside and our ball pits and have the kids go play in our bubble house, which is like a big snow globe, that bubble, like the balloons just fly around. Like, kids love that kind of stuff. And we would love to be a part of the community and have people come in and have a space that, we can do that, so.
Awesome. Brittany and Matt, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Excited about that. I think one of the things that everybody's echoed so far is the town's growing and getting good businesses in there is a good thing. I think my wife and I last Friday went to go to eat, and every place to eat in the town was completely full at 5:30, which I thought everybody would be at the sectional game, but they weren't. But it was one of those things where we were frustrated but excited. Like, there's good growth happening and making sure we're doing it the right way. So welcome, and we look forward to helping you guys get this off the ground.
Here, I just make a comment, a positive comment on just for the council's information. There is an alley back there. It goes from Ventnor Road all the way behind it to the other street, and we did have a big legal battle on it, so just be careful how we handle that. I'm 100% for this. I know that the alcohol and busing people from the east side of town in and forth for concerts, but I just wanted to make it clear that, that we have legal battle on it, so just make sure we follow the rules.
Thanks for that information, Ron. Thank you for your presentation and your support. Anyone else? Okay. Council comments. Ryan?
I want to welcome you guys to the community. I appreciate all the interest, and it is exciting to see the town as busy as it is. It's awesome. Bob, I want to tell you and your crew, thank you very much for keeping our neighborhood safe. That was an interesting morning. Jim, I appreciate all your hard work. I know you've been sitting on this for a while, and it's awesome. It's awesome. I can't wait to dig into this. It's going to be great. I think that's all I have.
Ethan?
It's a fun time to be a part of New Pal with new business and growth and the exciting visions that we're casting, the teams that are in place. So I like it when things are fun. So I appreciate the opportunities that we have here in New Palestine right now. I want to thank Chad for joining me on that chat with the council we had at Tony D's. We had a couple people join us for conversation and coffee and just kind of an opportunity to chit chat. So I appreciated that opportunity, and we will continue on that. I will be hosting will be that first Friday in April, which will be April 5th, and we'll give you more reminders. But we're going to have that at Dry Bones, April 5th. So if anybody on the council would like to join me on April 5th, that's a Friday morning at Dry Bones, we will see who else wants to have a chat with the council.
Is that at 8 o'clock as well?
I mean, I could push it to 8:30 if that helps you.
Oh, no, I just, was for my notes, I can,
Because I would have the farthest to travel.
Right.
And I feel guilty because I missed the first one. I would be happy to volunteer to be the second council member.
Great.
On Friday the 5th at whatever time you say.
We'll do 8 a.m. That way, if
Let's
someone
do it.
wants to chat with us before they head in the office, they have the opportunity to do that.
Perfect.
And then I would encourage if anybody else wants to set those chat with the council, I mean, we can certainly do that outside of the first Friday. That's just what I'm committing to on the first Friday. So it was a good conversation, and I look forward to the next one. One of the things that came out of that was a suggestion that if we have presentations made to the council, it may be a benefit to those who are attending the meeting to make sure we have that presentation material available to those who are in the audience. And I wonder, Terry, if that's something we can communicate to those organizations that have presentations, that we provide some printouts. The Commonwealth and Crone presentation was a good example of saying, hey, they're trying to give us lots of information, and if we're inviting people to offer any comments, feedback, or public opinion, they don't have anything to go by, and we're trying to make sense of it. They definitely can't. And so I wonder if that would be a best practice, if we just would make sure that if a company is making a presentation and they give us written materials, that they make a few copies available for those who are attending the meeting as well. I think we can put that on them. I don't know if we have to make those copies, but if they're coming with those, they can bring an extra 10 or 15 copies with them, I would say. But that's all I have. I just am excited for what's going on.
I like that idea. Chad?
We had some sectional champs, some state qualifications. There's a lot of good things that the New Pal, our students going there, have done recently, so I wanted to pass out those accolades. They're all in the paper, sports section. The New Pal cleaned up pretty well, so good job there.
The robotics team isn't in the sports section.
Yeah, you covered it last time I was going to do it, but they set a record in case anybody didn't know, and I'll shamelessly plug them because Ethan's son's on it, so he didn't know if he wanted to shamelessly plug it, but I will. They set a world record. It's pretty cool. They made front page. It was not in the sports section, but they did make front page.
There you go.
Couple meetings. This is Q4, so end of last year. We talked about the credit card limits. I think that was taken care of, but I couldn't remember. So it's a twofold question. Did it get taken care of? One. Two, is it what it needs to be? And if not, then let's talk. Okay.
No, it's not been taken care of yet.
Okay.
Yes, we essentially got approval to have like a $5,000 limit. I looked further into the P card, which I thought was a great idea when we talked about it. Turns out it really doesn't fit. Our town is too small to benefit from potential discount we would get for using it. So P card's not the way to go. Most likely just a corporate credit card is what we're looking at. I haven't pursued it from that point, but yeah.
Okay, I just know that we're about to get into the season where Chief's gonna have training, you and Jim are gonna be going to events and training.
I've already had to use Jimmy's card for something.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't want that to happen, right? We already set limitations for you guys to spend, and I think you guys have shown and proven that's, something you guys take very seriously. So I would say the next step is let us know what's reasonable for you guys so we can know about that, discuss it, and move on from there. But the last thing I want to do is limitate you taking care of the employees of the town, any training that we need to do or anything for the town, because you're waiting on Chief to come give you his card so you can put the other $5 on his, right? So,
Yeah, appreciate it.
yeah, let us know what we need to.
Making it a priority again.
Yeah,
Which
and
it
again.
was for a while, and then it dwindled because there were other things that were more important.
Yep.
Thank you.
I talked to Chief quickly about this, but want to look into a panic button for the office. I would lock it down because that's my way I would run it. But Yvonne made a great point. This is an awesome town center and an inviting time. If you've ever walked in here during operating hours, the whole everybody works here. Every employee is very welcoming, which we love. But there are times where Chief deals with the bad things, so there's times where Chief has to get involved, and I want to look into a panic button. You can buy them online, but where does it go to, right? So Chief's going to do some research. I'll also do some research. Not putting that on you, Chief, but
Just to let you know, I actually reached out to John Jocannis with the EOC Center. We have a possibility we could set something set up like the schools have. So the cell phones, so each employee should be able to have that on their cell phone if needed. So I'm gonna reach out to him again tomorrow. He's gonna maybe send me back some information as to what it may incur cost-wise, how hard it is to set it up. I think all the school teachers have it, so if they ever have something like an active shooter, they can hit that panic button. And I think they can geo-fence it as well, so if it was something where they were outside of this town hall and I accidentally button it doesn't go off.
Crystal has that for her school.
Yeah, so it'd be a good thing, so we're gonna talk about it tomorrow. And it got brought up, 'cause we had an incident, where we have individuals come in sometimes to, talk to us as law enforcement about bad things that have happened to them, or bad things that they don't like, and they wanna complain. So, there are some situations where office staff isn't trained to deal with these individuals, and we're not in our office all the time, since we're a small department, we're out. Once we turn into that, okay, we got this, but until then, we have to be out and about and be called in sometimes to take that call. Not only us, but Hancock County Sheriff's Department sometimes gets called in here because people think they live in New Palestine, even though they aren't in the town limits. So we even talked about making a room back here where we can take them out right away, have conversations, maybe put a camera in there, Scott, so things can be recorded. But also I wanna have a way with these ladies and gentlemen that work here. If something doesn't feel right to them, they have that opportunity of making that notification to get somebody here quick. So we're gonna look into that. And like I said, John hit me back, we guys were all talking, so we're definitely gonna look into that.
perfect. The final thing you already called on it is let's look into and get a quote, Scott, on getting a camera in that room so we can use it for that need if we need it for that. So we can knock that one out.
Much needed.
Awesome. Last thing I'll say, sorry that you guys came for this one because it was a food truck ordinance one, and those ones usually go a good, hour and a half. And to everybody here, I think our intent is to be able to work smoothly, and sometimes we get in a little bit of a longer discussion, but it's because our intent is to make sure that we're doing everything the right way for the town. And sometimes it takes a little bit more time to iron all those details out. So thank you guys for bearing with us as we start to set that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chad.
Well, I'm just
How can
gonna,
you follow that?
I'm going to pick up where Chad left off, and I just want to thank everybody who's here this evening. It's nice to see people that do care. They come. Orland, welcome back. There was a time, and I'm not going in the back, that these meetings weren't inviting to the public. And, it's so refreshing to have a council that wants to do what right. They want to hear from people. We may not agree, but at least we're open and we'll give you our thoughts. And if we can give you guidance on how to get something done, or if you have a concern, if there's anything that we can do that as a group that we agree that we should be doing, then that's what we're here for. So thank you for taking the time out of your day or evening to be here. That's all right.
Thank you. Well, my council has done a great job in covering everything that I had written down, but I'm the last one to talk. Thank you, my husband, for my last name starting with R, being at the end of the list. But it is such an exciting time, and we are working really hard to meet everybody's wishes and at the same time follow ordinances, and we're trying to be creative, and so just we appreciate your support. So thank you for coming tonight, and that's all I have.
Terry, if you want to go by first names, we could do that too.
I lost there too. Thanks, Mom.
He's
Good
been sitting
point.
on that one for 30 seconds.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion on that?
No.
All
Aye.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.